video. Yeah, I'm not gonna hold y'all up. I'm just gonna tell y'all what it is. Yes. So the creation of the modern day woman. Now, I'm gonna make this real quick and sum this up for you because I hear a lot of women stating how upset they is and all this pain that man caused them. And I'm gonna tell you where does this come from. And when I do, this is gonna make perfect sense. Now, let's go back to the beginning because if you don't know history, you're bound to repeat it. So, basically, what happened was pre-crack era. Pre-crack era, there was something called the nuclear family, where the government or where they perpetuated the family idea. You know what I'm saying? The mother, the father, the children, and all that. You know what I'm saying? Now, after the whole rebellion and the hippie movement and the civil rights movement in the 60s and the 70s, there was a dramatic change that took effect. One of the first changes in the 70s, after the hippie movement, they started to attack the hippies. You know what I'm saying? Saying that the drug the herb that is now being sold today as cannabis was causing people to go mad and crazy and kill people and things as such. And also drugs like ecstasy that was originally used to help relationships get back together and help partners communicate and fix homes. They banned that shit. You know what I'm saying? To now is used on the streets, so it's unsupervised and it's just used for recreational use. You know what I'm saying? Drug abuse. So um, when these factors was put in place to stop the whole family agenda, after the 70s, you have the crack era. Now, hit, when the crack era hit, oh, hold on, let me go back a little bit before this. In the schools, they used to offer trades in the schools. So men could be able to learn a trade in school, and by the time they graduated, be able to work for themselves and be able to provide a living for their family. So what they did is they removed this from the schools and made it outside of the schools at the same time, changing the education system so you learn less in the education system and just learn basically just how to be a factory worker instead of be your own business, do your own trade that you can perfect. And what the men were doing in the 60s, they were doing this and stabilizing their families and able to start businesses. You know what I'm saying? So the higher ups seen this and they took that away. They took that away. So the adverse effect of this is like now after high school, you have guys who are getting out who don't have money for extra education and have to work minimum wage as slave to provide. So, knowing this, okay, now crack is introduced. Crack is introduced. It's almost introduced like it's normal like today, like popping perks or smoking weed. You know what I'm saying? If you ask any of the old heads around that age, that shit was normal. You know what I'm saying? From what I heard, once they hit it, they got so freaky and high, and they want to do all type of things. So this shit fucked up the community real bad. You had respectable, or you had women, you know what I'm saying, who once tried this would get straight loose. You know what I'm saying? So if you remember back by the rapper Tupac, when they was coming out with, when he was making statements like, you wonder why they call you a bitch, I bet you. You know what I'm saying? This was in where he was basically talking about, I know he was talking about a different woman, but the whole thing of this of how these bitches and hoes originated is from the crack era. So from the crack era, a lot of these women were doing things to get high, and a lot of these dudes who were coming into new money had lots of money. So these women would be doing these things because they seen the glitter and the shine. You know what I'm saying? So at this time, most of the men had all of the money, and you had a few women who was in the game as well, who was getting money also. Now here's goes the where everything went sideways. You know what I'm saying? The birth of the modern day woman is when they created all these laws to go against the crack that, remember, before the crack it was the heroin, and then it was the crack. You know what I'm saying? It was a 1-2 punch. You know what I'm saying? The heroin was the first one, the crack was the second punch that just crushed the whole community. You know what I'm saying? So they created laws to go after the drug dealers, after the original drug dealer, which is the ones who let the drugs inside the country and put them out on the streets. They start going after all the people who are pushing the drugs, so the big money makers. These people who in the urban communities ride, fly, looking all flashy, had a jewelry and things and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So when they took all these people off the streets, the community was left with crackheads, a large amount of crackheads and drug addicts. They were locking up the drug dealers who were the smarter ones in the community, because they were using this to initially better their living environment. You know what I'm saying? So because it was easy money and it was a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So when they took all these, they went after all these drug dealers, gave them crazy amount of times. They took them from their family and from their community. So now you got all these young kids who are now being raised up around these crackheads. You know what I'm saying? So these crackheads are getting high and want to and get high and want to get freaky, basically. So you got all these kids walking around unsupervised. Remember, like, this was before the times between cell phones and all this monitoring stuff. So a lot of kids got taken advantage of by their family who were drug abusers and by drug abusers in the community. Period. You know what I'm saying? Because the elders to the community, even though they were drug pushers, were now in jail. So these kids now had to make a living for themselves. So a lot of these moms became single mothers doing it by themselves, and a lot of the guys they started falling for was drug addicts. So these was the same type of dudes who were molesting the kids and beating the women in the community. And this is what the young women were seeing. You know what I'm saying? So this is the idea. So if they think back, when this started, when their fathers got sent away, this initial pain, you know what I'm saying, of abandonment, and then you have these dudes who come in the scenario because mom just want to have a good time. She want to hang out. She stressed out. She working. You know what I'm saying? So now you have the party dude who comes. Well, not even a party, just a drug addict, and they want to party. So they want to get drunk, do their drugs. You know what I'm saying? And with this lifestyle comes abuse because these niggas eventually run out of money, so now they're stealing from these women that they're sleeping with, putting the woman in a worse predicament. So now you have the new drug pushers who are coming up as the ones under the ones who are already getting locked up. So the second generation drug dealers. Okay. So now they've come up being raised without no guidance. You know what I'm saying? So this is the initial men mind frame of I don't give a fuck attitude. You know what I'm saying? Because these young men coming up raising themselves, you know what I'm saying, with no respect. This is nothing to do with modern day. This is the precursor to the modern day children which the modern day women produce. You know what I'm saying? So you have a lot of these guys who they didn't get too much love from their parents. One because the father wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Two because he was probably locked up or was a fucking drug addict. You know what I'm saying? Running the streets. That part. You know what I'm saying? So even at the drug dealer having multiple women because multiple women see the money as security. So now you have their children coming up. You know what I'm saying? They seen all this money, seeing how things are going, and seeing and coming up around the crackheads. So now the crackheads is older. So now these is like niggas' moms who are now like crackheads and shit. You know what I'm saying? So now these younger niggas is selling dope. You know what I'm saying? So you have the older crackheads who doing anything for the dope, and then you have the young jits who have no respect. You know what I'm saying? For this older group who's willing to do anything for these drugs to even steal, fuck, whore, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Just to get high. So the respect for the elders quickly diminished because the ones who was really deserving that respect was locked up. You know what I'm saying? So as the second generation crackhead, I mean not crackheads, but drug dealers come up, you know what I'm saying? They really start disrespecting the women, you know what I'm saying? Because they basically have no home training. They're the ones who were originally raised by the single mothers, you know what I'm saying? So they eventually start having to be that father role or that man in the house, so they have to grow up quick. So this generation is the generation I'm talking about. They're becoming used to growing up being the man in the house, and the woman is now the cycle of the woman looking at the boys as being the young man since the father isn't there. You know what I'm saying? So these women is seeing that. You know what I'm saying? So they're seeing that the mama's working hard. There's no man there. You know what I'm saying? The brother is trying to do what he do, sell drugs, da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Provide or whatnot, run the street or rob or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So he eventually gets locked up. Boom. So now you have the woman fending for herself once again with the second generation crackheads. The crackhead babies. You know what I'm saying? The crack babies. The crack babies are inclined to do drugs. You know what I'm saying? So all of the illicit behaviors that go with doing crack, the sexual activity, the lucidness, you know what I'm saying? It's already in them with this wanting to do crack. You know what I'm saying? So when drugs come out and they start to do drugs and they don't find the correct way to overcome this, because some crack babies they say are some geniuses or whatnot, but when they get reintroduced to the drugs, they basically fall right into that hole of the parents who was a crackhead. You know what I'm saying? I can say this because in my family, my auntie was with a I didn't know at the time that I was a kid that he was a crackhead. I just know he used to drink a lot of beer. But as I grew up, I realized that he smoked crack. You know what I'm saying? And then I also realized later that some of his children was inclined to do the same drugs. Once they tried it, they was on it, so they started doing like strong drugs. You know what I'm saying? So it showed me that basically, in that regards, we're dealing with third generation crackheads, under crack babies. You know what I'm saying? And some of these women come from either being around or affected by that environment, or possibly crack babies themselves. You know what I'm saying? So this pain is coming down from generations of generations of the right guardian being there, and basically the crackheads and the drug addicts just running loose, raising the community, raping and molesting the little kids. You know what I'm saying? Being models that shouldn't be respected. So I know this video took a little longer than I expected, but I just wanted to sum that up. You know what I'm saying? So for the women who are upset at men, you know what I'm saying, the men that you're upset is really got caught up in this whole system with the whole assault on the community, and them basically drugging the community and breaking down the community. So now you have it as these days the modern women are more masculine and aggressive towards the men because they like the third generation of going through this war on the people, and through the propaganda actually think that it's their natural counterpart who's the problem, and not really looking at the big picture because they're not taught history, and neither do they pay attention to history. So I just want to let the women know that, you know what I'm saying, there's some good men out there. We love y'all. You know what I'm saying? Not all of us or lack the compassion to understand the loving woman correctly, and not all of us are drug addicts and abusers to women. We love y'all. There was an alien message that came across that said that we have time to heal. So us making these discoveries, knowing these things, you now have the opportunity to heal. So, in regards to breaking that process, stop dealing with men who abuse drugs because they may abuse you. So, I hope that helped. I hope that gave a little bit of understanding. You know what I'm saying? I'm HG the Hood Guru. You know what I'm saying? And I'll be, you know what I'm saying, dropping some more stuff for y'all soon. I hope this helped.